Hi folks, and welcome to today's video. Another injury setback. This time it's not my spine. Now, those that follow my channel regularly will know that I produce content every Sunday. It's popped up on YouTube for you guys to get you back on the road to low back pain recovery. Herniated discs, bulging discs, sciatica nerve pain, stenosis, those types of things. However, last Sunday there was no video posted. Why? Well, I was actually on a 9-hour road trip to Bosnia, a town called Mostar in Bosnia. I actually live in Montenegro, so it was a road trip with my friend to get a cortisone and hyaluronic acid shot into my hip. To find out what on earth is going on, let's dive into today's video. So folks, today I'm going to be talking about another injury which has flared up from my past, a little bit of the secondary effects of having a herniated disc and what can happen as a result of that to other parts of the body, and give you guys an update as to why I did not post last Sunday. So, as I said, first time here, you'll know me as, for my regular people, you'll know me as this back pains, herniated disc guy. Even if you're not subscribed, you'll see my videos pop up if you're looking for herniated disc issues, cervical and lumbar mainly. For those that have watched my channel for a while, you will know that I have some other injuries I've carried over my time, and going from top to bottom. We have cervical, C3, C4, C4, C5, C5, 6, end plate damage and bulging discs, most likely from a mountain bike accident. I landed on my head, spike tackled myself on a downhill mountain bike course. I used to race mountain bikes back in the day. If we go into my shoulder, I had a torn right labrum a few years ago as well. That's all healed up. I have got bone on bone in this elbow here. I can obviously touch my shoulder here. I can't here. That was from a martial arts competition. Arm got broken. It was badly reset and ended up wearing down cartilage, so it was bone on bone. Into my spine, L203, L304, L5S1, bulging and or herniated. I think it's about an 8mm retrolithesis in my spine as well. L5 on S1. Numerous sciatica pains that I had originally. Herniated disc was 2005. Came back to normal, and then re-herniated 2024. Okay, I'm back to normal now. So I've had that. Moving down into my right knee, it's a grade 3 torn meniscus in the right knee, which should be an operation, but I've managed to rehabilitate it without any pain. Left side, I've torn the MCL twice on that side. I've had plica syndrome in my knees, and am I done yet? Well, my hips actually have got torn labrums, and I used to have bursitis and various other issues in there as well. Really badly torn, twisted ankle on my right side when I was 18. So yeah, a lot of injuries which I've brought myself back from to be pain-free, doing what I want to do, exercises, sports, etc., etc. However, going back into my hip, because this is what the latest injury has been. So 2016, I was squatting and I actually tore some muscles at the upper part of my thigh. This led to pains in my hips. Actually, it was the right side first and the left side. I suspected some bursitis, trochanter bursitis, a little bursa under there at the surface. It was tender to touch. I was getting checked out by an orthopedist, was doing some tests, Faber test, etc. Suspected maybe a small labral tear. Potentially FAI syndrome, which is femoroacetabular impingement syndrome as well. Maybe some dysplasia, which caused this in the first place, which is like your hips are more open. Okay, there's more movement of the femoral head, more risk of these types of things. Anyway, I rehabbed it myself, came back, not a problem, started avoiding certain exercises that may affect it. Everything was good. Then I was testing out barbell lunges. It's something I hadn't done for a long time. Pain came back pretty severe, so I did go get an MRI because it was quite intense, mainly in the left side. So, when I was at the movies, for example, I couldn't sit with my knee bent. Driving was a problem. I had to have my legs straight, kind of had to have my knee below my hips. This is classic, okay, sign. When I was sleeping, I had to put a pillow against the left side of my leg because when it rotated out, there was a lot of pain, right? So anyway, got the MRI. And yes, it did show left side, small labral tear, small cyst there, FAI syndrome, and mild dysplasia. So, which means again, as I said, the socket is more open, the femur doesn't sit quite as deep in there. Now, that predisposes you to tearing the labrum, because obviously the femur shifts around more. The labrum is basically a little bit of circular cartilage that runs around the rim. Okay, it kind of helps hold the top of the femoral head in the joint itself. Now, if your athletic endeavors have involved things like martial arts, like mine did, okay, a lot of high kicking, aggressive contact sports, which I did, rugby, you know, physical of jumping, whatever, mountain biking, okay, and being Scottish, I used to play golf. So that is rotation, okay, quite violent, physical, fast rotation across the hip, okay, all the things that I was basically brought up doing, right? Those will predispose you to having, okay, potentially torn labrums if you do have some dysplasia, all right? And that was my situation. So basically rehabbed again. Okay, this time I said, right, okay, you know, no more barbell lunges, you know, no more kicking, unfortunately. Give up a lot of like other sort of things that may exacerbate it. Walking lunges were fine, for example. That's primarily because when you do the step through and then you step through again, you're not having that having to push back, which of course shifts the femoral head more as you're trying to push back from the barbell lunge. I could get away with doing walking lunges without any issues. The MRI did show that my cartilage was all fine, okay, which was a great sign. There's no signs of sort of pre-arthrosis, arthritis coming along. So I got myself back as strong as possible. Everything was going great, okay. So what on earth happened? Let's find out. Okay, Colin, so what on earth happened, right? You're the back injury guy. Get yourself as strong as possible, strengthen yourself out of pain. How come this injury befell you, okay? All right, people I work with, and I often talk about this in videos as well, I often talk about secondary issues which can happen after you have a herniated lumbar bulging disc, right? Primarily because you can't exercise or do what you could do before, right? Different activities. So you get weaker, okay? People tend to atrophy, they lose muscle tissue. They can do maybe, you know, a lot of walking, swimming, which is obviously cardiorespiratory type of exercise, but it's difficult to get the full strength working, okay, especially around the lower body because you're trying not to stress the discs with compression, right? Because that makes things worse generally. So I was re-herniated 2024. The MRI was February, March, from memory there. So for 2 years, I mean, I was going through the basics of leg training, but you know, mainly body weight, taking it easy. I was doing a lot of hiking as well, but I lost probably, my own estimations are about maybe 4.5 kilos of muscle, a lot of my back, my lower body as well, of my whole body generally, but more off the lower body side because I was unable to train legs effectively. When I did start training legs again, somebody is going to flash up. I was taking it easy, you know, it was like I was using some machines, bodyweight walking lunges, step ups, nice and controlled, you know. However, I actually injured my knee. Believe it or not, I was placed in a position where I had to be on my knees for a long period of time. I was resting back on my haunches. I actually ended up getting patellofemoral pain syndrome in the knee. I was rehabilitating it with the use of a bike and some other exercises. Unfortunately, I then had another accident where my knee was dropped, my body weight dropped really quickly, banged my knee around about sort of 35, 40 degree point, damaged the cartilage behind the knee. So then I had basic chondromalacia patella as well. So I was combining those two. So I was just getting that back to being 100%, probably 80%, 85% or so, when I had another issue, okay? And as I said, this all ties into, as everything starts to break down, as you get weaker, old problems can surface, which is why it's really important to, you know, do a whole body strengthening program. And along the way, do expect setbacks because they can and will happen. I tell all my clients this, you know, through no fault of your own, certain things can creep up, can appear, okay, unexpectedly. Setback can happen, but it's how you handle it, how you deal with it, how you move forward from there, okay? It is part of the process sometimes. Now, my old problem was my hip problem. Why did it come back? Okay, so basically, those that don't know, I am a father. I have a 7-month-old daughter. I often put her to sleep. And I was doing this by rocking side to side, okay, bouncing her. And that is a lot of lateral, or for me, I was doing a lot of lateral hip motion like this, okay? So my femur is shifting around. It's not like a linear, you know, straight up and down, like a step up, for example. A lot of shifting within the joint, okay, side to side. And my wife one day was like, what's that noise? Because you just kind of coming out of my hips, right? Didn't think anything of it. But it is exacerbating and at a sort of micro level, you know, affecting and annoying that particular area, right? I'm not blaming my daughter, of course not, right? It's just one of those things, okay? Then just last week past Saturday, we were in the sea with my daughter here, because I live by the coast, and I was on my knees, I was pushing around this little inflatable type thing that she has. And the thing is, when you're in water, okay, the joint is sort of, it's not compacted anymore, it's actually floating, right? And this can be an issue because the joint can shift, right? And as you change sort of motion, like as you put your weight on your other knee, you're unweighted, okay, you can actually, it can be jammed up into that area and cause an issue. And the next day on the Sunday, I woke up and I was, oh my God, this pain's come back, okay? And this is most likely, it was a combination of, the swaying motion, the weakness through my glutes, my legs, which I have, compared to where I was a couple of years ago prior to the injury. Been doing stuff in the water, because I know myself, I've always struggled with doing breaststroke because I can't kick out, far enough because I have what's called a cam issue in my hip, and it's very difficult for me to go kick out, okay? So all these things combined, Sunday I wake up, oof, a lot of pain, what is this? Okay, it's probably just gonna pass, okay, I'll just, take it easy today. Then Monday, Tuesday, it was getting worse and worse. I was like, okay, this is not good. I kind of unloaded myself for a couple of days. I was on the couch doing work, didn't walk around as much. I usually do like 15,000 steps a day. I cut that right down to like less than 4. Okay, just trying to take the load off. Wasn't getting much better. So I said, okay, I need to get into this. I need to get the inflammation down so I can actively work on rehab, right? Because I do spend a lot of time on my feet. Obviously, I share the parenthood, with my wife, so I carry my daughter around. Okay, so I need to get the inflammation down. Okay, ice, whatever, if I can get potentially corticosteroid injection as well, that would get me, down a bit more so I can actually get active and get working on the rehab. So we have a friend that we know here who's local, works in that industry. She had a really, really good contact with a doctor all the way over in Mostar in Bosnia. Okay, it's down in the Balkans here. And I was like, right, let's see if we can see the guy. He was, okay, I can bring in and see you on Sunday. He was basically a specialist orthopedic for hips. That was his main specialty. I said, okay, let's go. He can do a hydrocortisone shot combined with hyaluronic acid, which is like an oil change for your joint, basically. So let's do it. So we basically jumped in the car last Sunday, me and my good friend, because I didn't know what kind of condition I'd be in, if I'd need to be driven back, took crutches with me, compression shorts, all these kind of things. My old MRI from 2019 for him to have a look at, and off we went. So it was kind of like a 9-hour day between the traffic and stuff. It's really busy, it's summertime here. But we got there and I got it done. This huge needle, okay, it was used ultrasound to guide, to know where they were going with the needle. Popped it straight in the front of my hip, in through the joint capsule, into that area, and popped in the injection. Now, for this first week, 7 days, you take things very easy, okay, rest up the first couple of days. It takes, normally, corticosteroids will take roughly up to 14 days to work fully. You usually start feeling the benefits after 3, 4, 5 days. It is feeling significantly better, okay, for walking around, that is. Still some pain when I sit, but this is normal, okay? It's still working. But basically, I'm going to be starting my rehabilitation on what will be tomorrow, okay, after you watch this video, on the Monday, and that's where I'm going to be diving into sort of, glute max strengthening, glute med strengthening. I will be using a stationary bike, which I've actually got. If you look here behind me here, I've got my stationary spinning bike already there, okay. I'll be using that very gently, just to sort of increase synovial fluid production with a very, very light load. High saddle position, so I'm not going into too much femur flexion. But basically, if anybody's suffering from the same affliction, torn hip labrum, okay, and you want to follow along, say something in the comment section. I can actually post some videos of my rehab for that specific injury. Okay, it might be interesting for you guys to follow along. If you're in the same situation, I'm very happy and willing to share my rehab journey with you, all right? But a lot of people would be asking, well, Colin, where do you go from here? Like, what are some of the next steps that you're going to be doing? Let's find out. So, Colin, what is your plan? Where are you going to go from here? Okay, you're going to be rehabbing it. Exactly. Yep, I'm going to be rehabbing it. I'm going to be strengthening my way out of pain, like I've done before. Like I say, with many, many different injuries, especially the lower back, issues, you have to get yourself as strong as possible because those muscles can support the damaged joint, damaged area, and basically take you through normal life and activities without pain, okay? It's super, super important. I remember one orthopedic said to me one time, he said, Colin, whatever you do, keep doing it, right? Keep yourself as strong as possible. He said most people, they'll stop doing physio when they feel better. You know, they won't, you know, strengthen enough and they're in pain, okay? I've seen it so many times. Somebody takes up an exercise or takes up strength training specifically and take themselves out of pain. It is super, super important. Now, you can't just do, you know, 5 exercises routinely every day for the next year. You have to, like I do, and I basically propose, is you want graded exposure, okay? Things getting progressively harder. You want to be doing progressive overload where there's a bit more weight or more repetitions, okay? Intensity increases, because you have to force the body to adapt to the new stress. That's the only way you're going to be able to get stronger, etc., etc. Now, I should be getting an X-ray and another MRI in a couple of weeks. This will be to determine, you know, if there is a new tear compared to the old one. If there's a new tear, if there is, you know, any damage to the cartilage, if there's extra wear and tear to the cartilage, you know, how this looks for the future. Now, obviously, like I said before, the MRI is just a snapshot in time, okay? Symptoms are generally, you know, more important, how the person feels, but the MRI can be useful to see, you know, within the joint, you know, how things are looking, right? Now, as I say, I'll be continuing to avoid things that are going to exacerbate it. So obviously barbell lunges, a breaststroke kick, or I'll be doing it very lightly, right? It just puts the femur into basically too much flexion combined with, you know, excessive like stress at that point at the joint. But I am very optimistic about my recovery. I've done it before, I've been here before, okay? Yes, I'm a bit older, but I have all the tools here and luckily a good gym, and I've got some stuff here at home that I'll be using to get myself back on the road to recovery. And as I said, guys, if you are suffering from a hip labral tear and you would like to potentially, you know, watch what I'm doing or get some ideas, by all means say something in the comments and I'll be sure to record content when I'm doing my routine, and I'll give you some hints and tips as to what you can do yourself, all right? So folks, I hope this video has been useful for you. I hope it's explained why I wasn't online last Sunday. If you've got any questions or comments, you want to reach out to me by email, whatever, you know, hit me up definitely down in the comment section or drop me an email. I do answer all comments and questions. If you've enjoyed it, of course, don't forget to subscribe for more great content, and I'll see you all next time. Have a great day.